Well, I've been saying this over 30 years that in any refinance boom, one of two things are going to happen. Either you're going to refinance the world at 3% or whatever the lowest interest rate was, or rates are going to go up. It doesn't make any sense for that customer to refinance. Essentially, your own success, if you got your whole database set at the lowest interest rate, you put yourself out of business. So your own success causes your own demise. And that's the struggle after any refinance boom when rates start to go up. The common theme that I'm seeing in branches today is lack of loans. Their production's 30% of what it used to be when refi mania was going on. So virtually no refinances are going on. Yeah, there's some going on, but nowhere near what they had before. And there's a few that happen, obviously cash outs and people have to move and things of that nature, but that only leaves purchase business. And that struggle is twofold. First, most loan officers, they weren't focusing on what I call the lead source community, which are realtors, builders, and financial planners. So for them to recommend a loan officer service, and now they've got to dust off those scripts and build a list of realtor community all over again. They might not even know some of the realtors that are in the play today. So that struggle with that is it's going to take some time before you're going to get any shot at their business. It might be 6 months to a year before they're ever going to give you a shot. So you got to warm them up to that part. So that's part one, is that they've got to re-engage and get themselves back in tune to calling on realtors and builders and anybody else that potentially could refer them through the process. And the other thing that's happening is there's a tremendously low inventory. And we're going to see it start to get worse, I think. If the sellers are sitting with an interest rate of 3%, it's going to be hard to stomach those rates in the mid sixes or sevens. And it's hard enough if you're going to move up. It's hard enough that you double the mortgage amount. If you got a $200,000 balance, you jump into 4, or a $300,000 balance, jump into 6. I mean, that in itself is hard, let alone the fact that now you've got to double the interest rate through that process. And let's face it, that it's a pain in the neck to move. I think not moving wins all ties throughout that process. And I think sellers are staying on the sidelines, even though they might need that fourth bedroom or the better school district or the bigger yard. So, they kind of buckle up a little bit and say, I'll just hang out here for, a little while. And they'll look at 1 year at a time and go from there. Sometimes you're seeing that even involved with the first-time home buyers, where they're sitting there saying, there's no inventory, I can't find the house I want. So essentially what happens is they repark and they say, well, let's just extend our lease another year until things turn around. So I've always thought that the market was in three parts: the first-time home buyers, the move-up home buyers, and the second-level move-ups. I used to call them the McMansion buyers, but it's really just the home of their dreams is that third level. And if the problem that we see today is if that first-time home buyers aren't buying because the rates are too high, that's one thing. But if that first-time home seller is not going to sell their house because they've got a 3% rate and don't want the 6.5% rate, they're not going to put their house on the market. So now that causes a total lack of inventory at that first-time home buyer level. Well, you couple that with the high rates, that first-time home buyer stalls. That whole market stalls. Then since the move up isn't buying, that market stalls, and just it perpetuates on itself over and over and over again. So if I was to give a branch manager, advice in today's market, I think you've got to think long-term, not short-term, because short-term and it's easy for me to say that because I'm not in the heat of the battle, but I think the solution is stay the course. Build that database with what I call the mortgage orphans, because you're going to see a lot of loan officers leave the business, and they're going to be the customer that did their mortgage. He's not going to be in business, or he or she is not going to be in business anymore. So I think that's important that you build that database so you can monitor it. The best thing that happens is that if somebody has to go out and buy a house and it's 6.5% or 7% today, that's a great candidate to refinance down the road. So try to find those people, put them in your database, and try to weather the storm until futuristically something changes. When I had Majestic Mortgage, I can tell you, if you ask any one of my top loan officers, if you ask them the question, it says, why are you calling on real estate agents? It was for one reason and one reason only, and it was to help them sell more homes. And I think you need to take that attitude when you go out and talk to the real estate community, because uh, they're experiencing some of the same things you are. Their frustration is lack of inventory. Their frustration is the buyers aren't buying now because rates are too high. Uh, so that what I call the shoebox of maybes. One of the things that we did at Majestic, because we did a lot of builder business, is we would focus on the lead cards. Yes, we would get deals from them, from the people that they recommended to us and wound up buying, but probably the equal amount of value there was the lead cards of people who walked through the building community and had, weren't going to buy now, or we're going to buy later, or needed to qualify, or needed to get their credit scores up, whatever that was. And I called it the shoebox of maybes. It's just a matter of, these are people who are not going to buy right now, but maybe they're going to buy at some point in time in the future. And if you can keep those people updated with what's happening with the marketplace as well as inventory, I think you win the game. This market's going to break. I don't know when, but when it does, you got to be the person that has the most contacts, because after it breaks, it'll be too late, because people will be scrambling, and now it's going to take you a while to go back and talk to that real estate agent. If it takes a year for that market to break, you've already developed a great relationship with a lot of realtors in that marketplace. So that would be my advice. It's what I'm seeing today, Tim. But I don't know when it's going to change, but as I'm going to say here in a couple of other sessions, that we need to start changing our thought process into 90-day blocks of time. Dan Sullivan, who did Strategic Coach, I took a couple of years of his program. He always thought in 90-day increments, and you've got to bring that back out.